Welcome to First Name Basis, where we chat with special guests, industry leaders, and TribalScale employees to have an authentic but informal conversation on a variety of relevant tech and innovation topics. I'm Nicola Watson, HR Manager at TribalScale, and today I'm chatting with Hilton Thompson, Head of Events of Zinnia. Welcome, Hilton. How are you? Thank you so much
I'm
for joining the
great.
podcast.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm looking for any cool excuse to chat with women in this world.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to have a great discussion today. So I'm so excited. And, why don't we kick it off and backpedal a little bit and maybe kind of start the conversation how you and I came together and how we got connected. And I suppose I'll take a stab at this first if you're good with that.
I trust you.
Okay, good. Glad. At least someone does, huh? um, so I suppose where our relationship started and how we maybe got connected was here at TribalScale. We're always trying to stay ahead of the competition and thinking outside the box when it comes to recruitment and talent acquisition. And since COVID, we've transitioned to a fully remote organization. So that has brought a shift in our own recruitment strategy here. So now we're just not restricted to, recruiting in Toronto or recruiting in Miami. It has opened up many different pools for talent in different locations across North and South America, which is pretty cool, if I say so myself, and makes our job a little bit easier. So I suppose combining that with us kind of on the hunt for these kind of different talent pools, we also look for emerging tech hubs. So combining the two there, we try and aim to expand our own talent brand across these areas. And one day we came across the amazing Atlanta and Atlanta Tech Village. And as you know, Atlanta is an emerging tech hub. And, the more I kind of got stuck into the research of Atlanta, I came across Atlanta Tech Village. And I was extremely intrigued by the work and the initiatives that's going on there in the community. So I suppose I got in touch, and that's when I was lucky enough to be in touch with you, Hilton. And that's where it kind of started.
Yeah, I'd say you hit the nail on the head. Our director of operations who works our front desk, she's amazing. Her name's Irina. She met you guys and was like, wait, you need to be connected to Hilton. She just knew that we would hit it off. So I think y'all coming to see Atlanta Tech Village and learning about it was really serendipitous, which is what the village is all about.
Absolutely. Brilliant. So why don't you, Hilton, tell us a bit more about the village and kind of the work that they're doing there?
Yeah, so Atlanta Tech Village is about to celebrate its 10th birthday in December.
Ooh.
David Cummings sold Pardot and thought, how can I help the tech community in Atlanta? And he said, I'm going to purchase this old building and we're going to turn it into something cool. So it's 5 floors and a rooftop full of tech startups. It's just really neat people, whether it's one person or 40 building a startup. So we've seen some really neat people graduate out of there, like Calendly, Sales Loft, some other awesome companies. And it's just been fun watching all of this happen. So there's some really neat startups
Yeah.
coming out of there now, including Zinnia and other neat things that I'm working on.
Amazing, amazing. And, it's even inspiring to see like you started there. Now you're kind of working for another organization that started at the village. That's a true example of it working great and, continued connections and networking opportunities that come from that as well, And like, I suppose in terms of the other reason, you and I connected and our relationship started in terms of partnership opportunities. I guess in terms of the conversation around women in tech and, specifically our, here at TribalScale, our initiatives that we're working on women in tech, I think you and I kind of the conversation came about of, what Atlanta Tech Village is doing there for women in tech and maybe how we could partner on an initiative for that area. So maybe, for yourself, Hilton, what are Atlanta Tech Village doing about women in tech specifically?
Yeah, so we've got kind of 2 wings of our like diversity and inclusion initiatives we're having at the village. So the first started, I guess, right when I started at Tech Village in 2017, which was our It Takes a Village program. It's a 16-week cohort for female founders and founders of color. They get access to mentorship, to advisors, to all kinds of things that the village has to offer, which has been really cool. They're about to graduate. I think they just graduated their 10th, which was crazy.
Mad.
So that means almost 100 founders have come through that program and grown, and most of them are still around the village. And it's neat to see how they're bringing in diversity into this whole tech world when it's not been a place built for people of color and for women.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And then our Women in Tech program, I started in 2018. I joined the team and was like, this will be fun. And it was Karen Houghton, who's now the founder of Infinite Giving. She was my manager at the time. And I was like, I want to start a Women in Tech thing. And she was like, great, do it. And then I was like, uh-oh, I have to actually do it now.
Now it's work. Yeah. I think the both of us are people like that. We come up with these amazing ideas and then we're like, now we actually have to implement those ideas. And that's about 10 more hours of work onto our day, but we love it. That's who we are.
Right, exactly. And it's like, dream big. And then you're like, oh, you have to actually work big too, because the dreams have to happen somehow.
Literally. Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like, in terms of women in tech here in Toronto and TribalScale in particular, for me, I think why it's so important to shine light on women in tech is that, the tech industry has long been a male dominated world. But, as we have had the last few years and we enter the next few years, I think, it's so important for organizations to kind of look at the position of women in tech. Here in Canada, I guess, we pride ourselves on pursuing diverse workforces and with equal opportunity for everyone. However, I think on the flip side, and the reality is that, women continue to be vastly underrepresented in STEM across the board. And, when I really dig into this and I start kind of going through tunnels and, finding data and statistics just to really see what is the facts out there, what is the data. I came across a multitude of data sets from Statistics Canada. And it's actually crazy to hear that in Canada, women make up just 23% of the Canadian tech industry. And I know in the US, I was trying to see the comparator to see if there was much of a difference. And it's slightly above at 26.7, which is crazy. I think that that is, when I think of that number, I'm like, wow, that's like, less than 25% of the workforce in the Canadian tech industry is women. And I think really, the work that we do, at Atlantic Tech Village and at TribalScale and across multiple different, women in tech networking groups and community is, the key is, and the most important step and the purpose behind that work is, I think, the representation of women in tech and, achieving those equal opportunities. I think women and girls are more likely to consider a career in computer sciences if they see people like them in these roles, right? I think it's the same for everything in this life. You need to see and to imagine yourself in something. And I guess that's like the biggest key here. And, in terms of even Collision Tech Conference, I'm not sure if you heard of it, but it's a really large tech conference that was held in Toronto this year. And it was their first in-person event since like 2019. I was lucky enough to go. It was a week of fun, more fun than anything else, to be honest. But what I loved about that tech conference there was that it was really evident that they were committed to changing that gender disparity in tech. Like, they highlighted really influential women in our field. I think they featured 34 female speakers who'd made like significant contributions to the tech industry. Which even things like that, the biggest and largest tech conference that was held in Toronto this year, to have such a focus on women in tech, this is what needs to happen and continue to happen,
Yes, absolutely. And I think having it happen beyond when it's just the hot thing to be doing is so huge. I don't know. I'm a huge reader, and the whole thing that sparked this in my brain is, have you read Brotopia by Emily Chang?
I haven't.
Okay, it will rock your world. I will send you a copy of it.
Please.
So I read it in 2017 or 2018, early 2018, and it's all about how Silicon Valley was built for white men. Deals were being done in hot tubs. Deals were being done in strip clubs. Women were not invited into those conversations. And so we got pushed out. And then you're told when you're little, like, okay, you can be a developer, but that means sitting alone in a room by yourself. And you don't talk to people. Well, most women aren't designed to work alone and siloed like
No.
that. So they're told to just write it off when they're 12. And so we're
Yeah.
not encouraged to get into this world. And so that book, reading those things, she talks about how like the men who are developing these apps for Apple or whoever, they will test your blood alcohol level, but they can't tell you when your period's coming. They will try like, and you're like, so men are designing this, but women can't use them. And
Yeah.
so, and 9 times out of 10, we're the ones who actually adopt these apps and are willing to use them. So why are men
Literally.
the only one building them? So I read that and I was like, okay, we're doing something.
Yeah.
And our whole goal of the Women Plus Tech meetup, workshops, all of that at the Village was to make Atlanta the best place for women in tech, because clearly it wasn't Silicon Valley. Like they weren't trying to include you or make you feel like you could be part of the deals.
Yeah.
So that's when I was like, oh yeah, we're doing something. And Atlanta's just, been really cool to see us. My little workshop started as like 10 women and then it grew up to like 80. And then that global pandemic happened and we were all at home trying to network via Zoom.
Oh yeah.
But now it's back and we're eating lunch together and it feels good to see people. The desire to be back and building each other up is huge.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And it's so fundamental for kind of working towards women in tech and creating more awareness and representation. Like those in-person initiatives are 10 out of 10. You just can't get better than that, And I think as well, like, for TribalScale last year, we hosted a virtual Women in Tech event for external guests. So what we had like our engineering leaders, our product leaders, design leaders, and our chief of staff, Heather, speak on how they got into tech and their experience of being a woman in tech as well. And it was amazing. Like, it was great to hear the different stories that maybe, came from that event that maybe, I never knew about some of our engineering managers and, the struggles they had at the start of being a woman in tech and, even bringing it back down to when they chose, STEM courses in university and, their families kind of looking at them being like, do you really want to go into computer science? Like, is that not for guys? You're a girl. Why aren't you going to be a nurse? Why aren't you going to be a doctor? So even hearing those stories and the struggles where it started right at the start from university time, it was so inspiring and to see where they are now and, the impact they're making on, the younger generation who are kind of entering into university and starting off their education. It's amazing. It's so inspiring and it really gets me going. It's brilliant. And so in terms of, at TribalScale, I guess I always am like, what's the mission? Like, why are we doing this? And I guess you and I, like, we've touched on so many important parts, but I really think as well, like a TribalScale, when people ask me, what is your purpose for, your Women in Tech initiatives and your mission behind it? And like, I've thought about this a lot and I'm always like, what is it? But I think really for me, if I was to put it into words, it would be like inspiring women to make that difference. And here, we build impactful technology, but doing that in an inclusive way and introducing other women to like-minded women and inspiring people and, mentors and leaders they can look up to and just to create diverse teams and a culture of belonging is just key to me. And when I really put those words together, it's like, yeah, that's it. And that is why we do what we do, But I guess let's kind of shift the conversation and show that we're not just all words, we are action. We don't just talk, we do the walk as well. And I suppose, Hilton, when we first kind of got into our conversations and we realized how much was going on at the Village down in Atlanta, and then my dreams, like yourself, we have all these dreams and then they become a reality. So we are hosting our own Women in Tech event at the Village, November 17th, and I am so excited. And so thanks to you as well for all the work that you're doing and working with us on the organization of the event, introducing me to amazing speakers who will sit on our panel on the night. So really, I suppose in terms of that event, it's just going to be a night of networking, some good food, good chats, inspiring talks from some of our special guests. Thanks to you for the introductions. And really for people to come to the event, meet women in tech leaders, get inspired by their journeys and their stories as well, create their own network there that maybe, touching on people they haven't spoke to before, been introduced, and establishing those relationships. I think it's going to be amazing. And, in terms of how you've seen events go in the past at the Village, as specifically to women in tech, what's your opinion of what people take away from those events?
Yeah, so I think I've hosted probably 50 women in tech events at the Village up to this point, and it's
You're
just
an expert.
I know we've done a couple, but it's been cool to see women of all different career paths, of all different. Some of these girls are still in college, and I'm like, yes, you're going to be like, you're getting connected now. So it's whether they walk away with an internship or someone walks away with a co-founder. I think there's so much value in getting people with this mindset of like, hey, I want to grow my business and I want to grow it in a way that's inclusive to everyone, getting them in the same room to bounce ideas off of each other, just to meet and be like, oh, hey, you're working on that thing too. Have you met this person? The introductions are game changing when you're starting a business. So that's my favorite part of these types of events, and the most valuable to everyone. You hear a little bit about other people's stories that resonate with you, and then you walk away with, new connections, and never know what that's going to lead to.
Absolutely. And it's so important. That's why, when I do talks at universities and, do, intern speaking sessions for universities and our co-op program here at TribalScale, people are always like, Nicola, what is the tip that you would give someone starting off in their career? And the first thing I always say is network, network, network. Reach out to people in your field, reach out to people that, you look up to, or, you're looking at their LinkedIn, you're like, that's what I want to do, or they inspire me. And I know when, you're only entering your career and you're looking up to someone who's like 20 years experience and is a founder, CEO of an organization that you'd only dream to work for, it can be daunting. And it absolutely is. I totally understand it. But the more networking events you go to, the more times you push yourself out of your comfort zone and just have a chat. These people are just people, and like they absolutely love sharing their knowledge, sharing their stories, and helping people, to get to where they want to be the way someone helped them. And I think that is key, is that, coming away with new relationships, new networking opportunities, and building from them, keeping in touch with those people. It's just amazing, And someone asked me actually about our event that's coming up. What do you really want people to think, or is there any action items that you'd love people to do following the event? And I said, you know what? I'd love everyone in that room to come away and say, wow, I'm so inspired. I'm looking at the organization I'm in and saying, we're doing great. But now I'm coming back with way more ideas on how we can kind of create similar events, implement maybe new strategies or initiatives to create those cultures in your organization, and just feel inspired that they've met a fantastic group of women, feeling motivated themselves, to kind of take some action items from that networking session and put it into their everyday world in their own career. I think that would be key for me, is just feeling that inspired feeling that you come out of an event and just ready to go about your day the next day with a bit more of a perk in your step,
Yes, I think that's so important. Meetings.
Yeah.
It's like when you walk away from, you're like, I just met someone cool, and like now I'm excited to go do something else.
Yeah.
Take just the nugget I heard and apply it to what I'm doing now. Yeah. So I think that's always our goal with an event like that, is to bring people together to inspire each other to do more, do better, inspire someone else, because it's a chain effect. It's going to keep going, and someone else is going to hear, oh, I heard about this event, or I heard about this TribalScale thing, or I heard about Atlanta Tech Village because of this person who I didn't even know before this. Yeah. So it's organic, stone tumbling.
100%. And for sure they'll know about us after, let's hope. TribalScale take over Atlanta, let's hope. Fingers crossed. So let's talk about your new role at Zinnia. How's that going for you?
It's great. And it's so funny that we're talking about like meeting someone, and that's how that works. That's exactly how this thing fell into my lap. I was at the Tech Village for like 5 years, and I've loved it. Like I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I don't want to go. Yeah. But then I met Lauren Martrano, female founder, and she was like, hey, I want to pick your brain about events. And I was like, okay, let's chat. And she starts telling me about Zinnia. She's like, we're building software. It's going to make offsites effortless. We're going to have a flight aggregator. We're going to have communication tools. And I'm like, tell me more. And so she just kept telling me about all these cool things. It's because we've seen during the pandemic, everyone has gone remote, but they want to get together at least a couple times a year. They want to see each other, just like those meetings where you walk away inspired. If you see your team, you might like them more, have some more inside jokes in Slack. So we saw this need for people who want to go to Chicago or go to Jackson Hole and ski as a team. And it's just, they don't have the bandwidth for someone to plan it and plan it well. So we were like, that's a need that we can fill. Easy breezy.
Yeah.
So we say easy breezy, right? And then we're in startup world doing emails at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Easy breezy though.
So easy. We make it look that way. But it's been really neat to watch. Our MVP is launching in the next couple weeks, months. But we've built a flight aggregator so everyone can go in there and say, hey, our team's from all over the country. Where's most cost effective and central for us to send them in February of 2024? And it pulls it together for us. And so we're having tons of fun, bringing in fun things like a murder mystery that no one knows about. It's just going to come in at dinner. Or fun little, popcorn that they don't, just things that are little and create some community in ways that you don't have a salesperson who wants to do that in their day-to-day.
100%. That's amazing. Wow. I'm so excited to hear more about that. And I think that that's so important. I think being remote, a lot of that was lost, during the whole transition of being at home during COVID. And people, I'd even hear, from our own employees being like, oh, in the office, we used to get snacks, or in the office, we used to all go for lunch. And, it breaks my heart to, think about that. And, the most important part about being in office and interacting with your colleagues and creating those memories and experience together that builds upon relationships. And they really just get to know each other from that. And in turn, you just end up with a better, more collaborative team who are going to produce better results, but that's amazing. I can't believe the murder mystery. That's sounding scary.
It was silly. It was improvisers pretending to be murderers. So they were laughing the whole time. But it is huge when you take away that component of just community. And when you like your coworkers, you're going to do better work. You're going to bounce ideas off of each other. And then you're probably not going to waste your manager's time just because you feel comfortable going, hey, Bob, what's this? How do you feel about this before I run it up the flag? So I think it's huge to have that community within a team, and you can't do it if you don't see each other in person.
100%. I totally agree. We have membership with a collaborative work office downtown Toronto now, and there's been a really big increase in the number of our employees going in weekly. And we have a Slack channel where we all encourage each other to say, hey, if you're going in tomorrow, pop it into the channel, because when people see other people going in and they see the photos that everyone at lunch, and they might head out for some food after work, that makes people want to go in, and because people get FOMO. I don't know about you, but when I see, my colleagues out for lunch and I'm working from home and I'm not there, I'm nearly throwing on my shoes and running out to meet them, because I literally just get such bad FOMO. And that's the importance of that. And I think what you guys are doing at Zinnia is amazing. It's so exciting. I think it's going to be so successful, and I'm excited to see the growth there.
I appreciate it.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, I guess we will wrap this up today. That was absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for everything that you contributed today, Hilton. I'm so excited to kind of keep things moving forward in terms of our Atlanta Tech Village event. I really appreciate you joining the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is a fun way to end the day.
Yeah. So before we sign off, just a reminder, TribalScale is hosting our Women in Tech event in Atlanta on November 17th. We have an amazing panel of speakers, all a surprise to be confirmed very, very soon. But it will be an evening filled with inspiring discussions and networking that you won't want to miss. So if you're in the Atlanta area, we encourage you all to sign up and attend. The link to sign up is in our social media. You can check out this podcast and more episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and more. Again, thank you, Hilton, for joining. This has been First Name Basis, and thank you, everyone.